everybody knows I have my cheat sheets. We digress frequently. Without these, within 5 minutes, we'd be debating whether or not kangaroos eat dahlias, and we'd be Googling it. So, without any further ado, what is a planter and why do we plant them? So, very simply, a planter is any container filled with annual plants. And the reason I say it that way is you can absolutely put a tree in there, a small tree, a shrub, a perennial, but unless you get that into the ground in the fall, it's probably not going to make it through the winter. So even if it is a perennial or a tree, it becomes an annual if we leave it there through the winter. So that's kind of why I say it like that. It can be customary, pots, rail planters, hanging baskets, anything like that. But you can also do fun. Years and years ago in Montreal, an apartment I lived next to was getting renovated, and they did the bathroom, and they put the old toilet and the old sink outside, so I went and planted it for them. It was great, had natural drainage, we had flowers going everywhere, it's a lot of fun. So let creativity guide you too. You know, I've seen wheelbarrows planted. I've seen pots that have been broken, and people put them on their side as if it's fallen over, and they plant in that soil. I have no doubt Pinterest is littered with creative ideas. Come up with your own. It's a lot of fun. Planters, one of the reasons we do them is a lot of times they are done in areas where we can't do traditional gardening, such as, you know, digging out a flower bed, turning a vegetable plot. And that can be for any number of reasons. At my home, we have a front yard, a backyard, and a deck. Now, the deck is built into like a little alcove in the house, and there's no green space around it. It's kind of walls and whatnot. It's really cool, private little shady nook. But if we want to have any color or anything pretty there, we have to bring it in the form of planters. If you want to have, you know, something really nice hanging on your garage or something, maybe you don't have time or you don't want a vine growing up your siding, we have to use hanging baskets. So it kind of replaces, you know, for want of a better term, traditional area gardening. It's used as an aesthetic viewing point. I think we've all heard curb appeal. If you need a quick fix for whatever reason, you're having a Canada Day party, a wedding, you're selling your home, whatever the occasion might be, a couple of strategically placed planters do not require a lot of work in the garden. And when people pull up, their eye will immediately go to the color and the size. They won't be looking at the other parts. Now, if you're a hypercritical gardener like me, you absolutely will. But the vast majority of people, I've had people come up and they're like, oh my God, your garden looks amazing. In my eyes, the garden is full of weeds. I haven't had a chance to deadhead it, but what they're looking at are the planters. And that's what's catching their eye. So I know it works for sure. Also, a really, really, really amazing source for pollinators. A number of years ago, I moved into a place and the garden was dead. We spent the first year bringing it back. The second year we planted. And we had sunflowers and tomatoes and cucumbers, lettuce, spinach, blah, blah, blah. And one of my neighbors came over and asked me, how do you get so much? Nothing is pollinating my tomato plants. And he just had a flat lawn that he religiously sprayed to kill dandelions and 3 tomato plants. I had hanging baskets and sunflower. The amount of pollinators and birds I was attracting into the yard was ridiculous. And they pollinated all of my fruit. So not only is it beneficial to the pollinators, even if you're not growing fruit, the pollinators are like, thank you so much. Because you're constantly replacing the flowers, so there's constantly a fresh food source. But if you are growing food, it is a great beacon for the pollinators to be like, over here, we got some food, and they'll come and take care of everything else. And with that being said, planters, last year on my little deck, we also had veggies growing in the garden, but in a window box about this size. I grew 6 cucumbers. We had another herb pot. We had tomatoes growing in pots. We had flowers. So it's a great way to grow your food and your herbs in a limited area as well. or if you just like that aesthetic, or you just want that on your deck, or you want extra ones, whatever you want. That's a great thing. Much like a traditional garden, it's not one size fits all. We'll get to that. And I'm a weirdo. I don't mind weeding. Okay, I don't. I can turn when I'm doing something like this, I have to think about aesthetics and colors and what's picking up and how it's all going to play together. When I'm weeding, I just have to be like, get the dandelion up the flowers, and my brain can turn off. And I like that. I don't get my phone. My hands are dirty and they're busy. And I can really just kind of zone out, meditate, and get it done. So I enjoy weeding. The vast majority of people do not. And that's okay. The great thing with planters, little to no weeding. The soil we're going to use, it's not sterile, but it's dehydrated and in a bag. And any weed that comes up, you spot it right away. It comes out easy. A lot of times you're not on your knees for an hour or bending over in the sun. So it's a lot easier. I always say little to no weeding. I don't think I weeded a planter once last year, but I guarantee if I said no weeding, I'd get a photograph of somebody with a dandelion and a planter. So I like to just like cover my bases. Must be the lawyer in me. I'm just kidding, I'm not a lawyer. I'd make the world's worst lawyer. Your Honor, I'd like to digress about kangaroos. I know my client was speeding, but compared to a kangaroo. So what are we considering when we do this? And when you look at this list of considerations, okay, prioritize as you need. These aren't in a list because I legitimately couldn't say which one is most important. So let's have a look here and we'll say aesthetic. Okay, that's important to a lot of people. But I immediately follow that up with purpose. It's all good saying, oh, well, you need to have an aesthetic. But if your purpose is to grow cucumbers, then the aesthetic doesn't matter because the aesthetic is going to be cucumbers. Okay, so if you want an aesthetic and you want it to match, or you want it to blend into your house or contrast your house, or, you know, this year you really want to do something with bold pinks and purples, and you really want that deep, deep color, then you have to think of aesthetic, okay? But if you're going for purpose, those two often, they can't play together, right? If your purpose is purely aesthetic, great. If your purpose is purely food, great. But you have to play that around. So when we talk about this, I'm not listing them as in, this is what you have to consider. You have to kind of look at it and go, okay, what is applicable to my area? And what am I going to go? So aesthetic, we just touched on that. That's purely what do you want? Do you want a wood planter? Do you want a ceramic? Do you want colorful? Do you want neutral? The flowers that go in there, do you want them to contrast? Do you want the planter to stand out more than the flowers? And that's basically it. It's whatever you find pretty, with the emphasis being on what you find pretty. Don't worry about what your neighbors are doing. I'm pretty sure they didn't knock on your door and say, we're planting red geraniums. So don't worry about that. Do what you like. Too many times people get hung up on what other people are. I've seen it in landscaping where people are like, well, my neighbor did this, I guess we should. What? You do you, man. So have fun. That being said, if you really like your neighbor and you guys are playing, you're splitting plants, that's awesome too. I have no problem with that. I've done that before where I've planted and I'm like, I've got too many flowers, and I give them to a neighbor. So there's nothing wrong with you know, complimenting your neighbor either. Purpose, exactly that. Are you growing food? Are you trying to brighten a dark area? In which case, you might want to use a white pot. You might want to go with white flowers. What is the purpose? Is it purely for pollinators? In which case, you're going to want something that's just churning out the blooms. You want something you can do, forget. You don't even have to water it once a day, but you're not deadheading or anything else. You're going to be looking at pansies and petunias. So think of the purpose there. Exposure. This is a tricky one because this is one of the few. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you want. You either have sun or shade, some balance in between, and there are only certain plants that are going to work in certain areas. You may absolutely love let's say dahlias, and you're like, oh my God, I want my dahlias, and you have dense, heavy shade. I don't recommend it. They're really not going to like it. So you have to play to the environment. Now, with that being said, the exposure, instead of picking plants, pick colors. Okay, go, oh, well, I wanted a dahlia, but I can live with pink and white. There's pink and white begonias, and begonias will take heavy shade. So change your thought and say, oh, instead of this, this is what I'm going to do, and that's exposure. Water requirements, think of that. If you're mad busy, you're working, kids have got to get to soccer practice, and it's go, go, go. And I understand that lifestyle, 100% I do. Maybe growing tomatoes isn't the choice for you. Last year, we were having to water 3 times a day when it was up in the high 30s, 40-degree temperatures. If you don't have time for that, your tomato is probably not going to live. So you're going to want something hardier. You're going to want something that's going to be able to take the heat. Again, I always go to the toughest ones we know, the pansies. Isn't it funny that people use pansy as a derogatory term for somebody weak, yet it's one of the toughest flowers?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not going to digress. We're going to plow right ahead, but I got questions. That's all I'm saying. So think about that. And, again, that ties into your purpose. Can you make that time work? Can you make it happen? Is there something you can do? Can you set up your planter where it'll get hit by a sprinkler and put your sprinkler on a water timer, run irrigation into it? These are the considerations you need. Viewing, consider how you're going to be viewing it. Are you viewing it from above? Are you going to view it 360? Is it going to be in an area where people can come at it from 3, 4, 5 directions? Is it sitting on? So I'm going to design to sit on the ground so that it can be seen from both sides in the end. Okay, we'll get to that. But you have a window box. You put it in your window. Is it so that when you look out the window, you see it? Or is it so that when people are on the street looking at your house, they see it? Or is it both? So viewing and the perspective is a consideration that you want to, you want to think about that and go, oh, where's it going to be? Am I going to be looking down on it from above? Like, is it on a patio and I look out my bedroom window and I see it and I want to have an effect? So think about that. Placement kind of goes with viewing. But placement is more about, you have something like this and you put it in the middle of a round patio, it doesn't really work. The shapes don't go. It's not really designed for that. You take a round planter and you push it up against a wall, a pavement and a wall on a 90-degree. Again, that doesn't work. A square one would work better there. So you think about where you're placing it. This goes great, up against a railing, and then there's still lots of room to walk next to it. That's where this goes great. Sitting on a deck, something like that. Size. How much size do you have? Are you going to block a walking way? Are you going to plant something? And I have done this, planted something, and then not being able to move it because it's too big and heavy. So that is a consideration as well. How much space do you have? And then maintenance. How much time have you got? Do you want to be watering 3 times a day? Do you have time to definitely stay on a fertilizer program? Deadheading. Don't worry about weeding though. Bazinga. We already covered that one. But how much maintenance? And can you access it for maintenance? People put up hanging baskets. I've done it before, gardening, where I put a hanging basket up for like my mom, and my mom's like, that's amazing, but I can't reach it. And I'm like, right. So I'm 6'1", my mom's 5'2". And I'm like on my tippy toes, hooking it onto something, and my mom like can't even touch the bottom of it. So you want to consider all of that. Okay, and then here's some design rules, tips, and thoughts. I hate the word rule. Okay, when it comes to design, that's not my cup of tea. Do whatever you want. Yes, some things are proven to be more aesthetically pleasing to the vast majority of people than others, but it's not one size fits all. Some people like colors I don't like. Some people like flowers. My wife loves peonies. I don't like peonies. Our last place, we had 11 peonies. How did that work out for me? But life would be very boring if we all liked the same things. And one of the things I love about plants is the diversity and how the diversity is necessary. So I don't like rules, but I had to put it in there because I guess some of them are rules and some people like that. So, but look at my next one. No wrong answers. So if you like rules and you play to the rules, again, you're doing your plan. And I'm about to follow some basic design principle rules for this. I'm going to do Thriller, Filler, and Ben's Filler. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, but we're going to touch on that. Be as grandiose or minimalistic as you like. You can have it, and you can have it filled with every different color and things spilling out all over the place, and something in the middle that's climbing. I've seen people take 4 different sized pots, stack them, plant them all with ivy, and turn it into an ivy pyramid. Seems grandiose, but then when you actually look at it, it's minimalistic. Okay, play with whatever you want. Again, some people will do a tomato and that's it. Okay, great. Yeah, let the tomato take all the nutrients and water. That's fine. Some people will do a tomato and then they'll put flowers around it to get the pollinators there. That's also awesome. So you play to that however you want. Thriller, filler, and spiller. We just talked about that. A very, 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 kind of the groundwork design rule. Like most people know that. If you don't, hey, now you do. It's an easy way to remember it, and it's just an easy way to think about what's going in your planter. Mono and polyculture, and also monochromatic and polychromatic work. Fancy way of saying monoculture, one plant, polyculture, many plants. This would be a polyculture planter, okay? If I did nothing but these, it would be monoculture. If I did nothing but these and these, it would be monoculture polycolor, okay? So that's what we're playing to. All that means, I know some people, they love pink or purple, and that's all they want to see coming out their basket. Great. Purple verbena. I love verbena. It's an amazing plant. I didn't grab it because they didn't have the right color that would play with these. If they had the pink one, we only have the deep purple or the purple-white variegated currently. People were buying my pink one. Looks like I picked the color of the season. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just that cool. Actually, I even asked Brandy, what should I do? And then I couldn't decide. So I literally walked around and let inspiration take me, and here we are. But some people really like just that one style, that one plant, just mass colors of it. And others like that wild rambling, different colors, picking up different shapes and contrasts and whatnot. So have fun with that. They both work. Don't be afraid to try new things. Years and years ago, if I hadn't tried it, I wouldn't have known. But growing a 10-foot sunflower in a 2-gallon pot, I didn't know that would work. Harry and I, he was only 7 at the time. We did sunflowers. We had one left, and we went, and then we put it on the patio, and it got so big, he had to sit on my shoulders and bend it down to look at it. And then we grew another one last year because I couldn't find the picture, just to show that it can be done. So try new things. Have fun with it. If it doesn't work, you're only committed for a year. Next year, don't do that again. If it did work, next year you can build on it, okay? And pot selection is important. I know a lot of people, the pot selection kind of comes as an afterthought. And the reason I say that, I see people come in, they get their flowers, they grab a pot. I actually started with my pot because I thought, oh, what am I doing? Well, we already did a round one, let's do, and I was like, I don't want to do a square one. That's very common. I thought, oh, let's do a window box. So that's where I started. Then I said, well, what's going to go with that? That's already dark. I want to brighten it up. That's why I decided to go with the pinks and the yellows and the whites to give this a lift. Then it's going to contrast and they're going to play off of each other. So I started with the pot and I thought about, I was going to do terracotta, and then I thought, oh, somebody might win this and not be able to lift it. Let's go to wood. So all of those considerations were going through my mind when I was picking my pot. So you might want to make sure you think of that. This list is in no way comprehensive, but it's just some ideas. Again, people go, oh, I can't grow anything because it's in the shade. Beg to differ. You can have a blast in the shade. It'll work really, really well. And then the next one is just some ideas of your veggies for the shade. Okay, and that's all those slides are. Brandy will post them, so don't worry about that. Planting time, my favorite time. Did I blow through my time budget on that? Oh no, I can plant a planter in 15 minutes, he says. So I always remove any jewelry and whatnot. We don't need anybody else losing a ring. We already had one. I don't know if you guys saw a Facebook story. Brandy lost her engagement ring and a customer found it and turned it in. Love our customers. So get everything cleaned off. Okay, so we have our container, we have our pot, we have our soil. I'm using this. It's actually a growing medium, not a soil. It's a peat moss based mix. Potting, where's my potting? There it is. Potting mix. I've got one here that I already opened because I'm incredibly lazy. Now, drain holes, another important consideration. If your pot doesn't have drain holes, you're going to need to think about that, and you're going to need to make sure you have your drainage. Okay, so Brandy, without moving all of those,
yes.
Is that good angle? Everything can be seen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my soil and I'm going to pour it in, okay? And I'm not filling, okay? I'm going to stop right there right now. I'm going to take out my scoop. We were doing a kids webinar and I was scooping soil. That's why I have that in there. All I've done here is filled it about 1/3, okay? And I'm firming it down. I'm not compacting. I'm patty caking. I'm not building a sandcastle, okay? And the reason I'm doing this, get rid of any air pockets, make sure it's level, and make sure I've got a good base for my plants, okay? So I'm gonna go down. Now, I know where my height is gonna be because of my handles, okay? I already looked at that. You could say I got a handle on it.
Oh my goodness.
The jokes come free. I honestly don't write them into my script. I'm just inspired to tell jokes. So I'm going to do it again. Fill it up. And same thing, just firm it down. And I'll fix my height and my levels later. But I want to show something. And that's when I'm doing this. What you'll notice is that I don't come up to my maximum height. And again, you can see I'm firming and I'm leveling. I am not compacting. Okay, so just like that. And the reason for that is when I plant, it's going to lift the soil. Soil is going to be displaced, so it's going to lift as it goes. Okay, I already have my layout, but what I do next is figure out my layout. Okay, so my thriller in the middle with two other thrillers there. So I've got my ends covered as well. Now my fillers are going to go in here, and I'm just kind of dropping them in. Bonk, bonk. And then my spillers are going to go, I'm going to go like that. And then I'm going to do that. Okay, I grabbed one more filler than I needed. See, I do that when I get home too. And then I'm like, I don't know where to put them. And I either give them to neighbors or they go in the garden somewhere. Hey, stop taking up so much room. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay? So I think it looks nice. But again, it doesn't matter. If I like it and somebody's like, that's not my cup of tea, do something different. Take this as inspiration. Don't take it as inspiration on what not to do. That's okay as well, right? Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I've done enough gardening. I am not arrogant enough to think that everything I do, everybody is going to like. So when you're looking at this, if you like it, just, again, make sure you tell Brandy, because we're going to give it away.
Oh, the middle main flower, Janice, is the filler. So which one was the filler in your?
So the fillers are my pansies.
Yes.
Okay, and the reason for that, the reason they're fillers is they're not, everybody knows pansies, they're beautiful, but they're not that like punch flower. They're not like, yeah, look at me, but they just keep that color. they keep the theme going. So they just fill in the gaps, okay? And that's why they're the fillers. Obviously the thriller, I mean, we can see what it is. It's like, do, 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 do. It does the Michael Jackson. But it stands out. The thriller is the, woof, that's what we get with that. So what I'm gonna do, I always pull my tags out because I don't like them. However, for this one, I'm gonna leave the tags in so that whoever wins it, if they're not familiar with the plants, they can learn and they're good to go. So I put this in, make sure I'm an even distance apart, work it down. So now I can see exactly where I want it to go. I'm gonna dig the soil out. Okay, and all I'm doing is just moving it. Unfortunately, I can't show this because all my soil will fall out. Take it out of the pot. Give the pot a squeeze, squeeze. Where we go. Brace the crown of my plant so I don't damage it. Flip it. Squeeze. Hey, presto. Look at those roots. Wow. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Okay, so now I sit it in. I check my depth, I check my placement, backfill. Now, if I'm teaching people or we're doing a workshop on these, I tend to go slower. But what we're doing here is we're just going to get through it because we still have to talk about deadheading, watering, and fertilizing. But I'm going to plant this, and I'll kind of talk about those subjects at the same time. That's not exactly in the middle, and I'm picky. Much better. I actually have measured planters before and put lines on them and done grid work. Yeah, you don't have to do that. Okay, so exact same principle with all of my flowers. Dig my hole, okay, keep my tags, give that a spray. And the great thing is, keep these pots. They're great to start seeds in next year. They're great for your seedlings. We're all about upcycling here as much as we can. We're all about sustainability. So if you can keep them, this pot here, drainage holes, little, great to put mint in. It won't get aggressive, won't take over everything else. You have a great little mint pot. Okay? So I'm just throwing it on the ground. Where's Harry when I need him to come and clean up? Oh, that's right. It's Saturday. He's having fun, not working. The joys of being 15, eh? The irony is, Harry can't wait until he's older, and I wish I was 15 again.
Yeah, right?
So, again, same principle. I always support the crown. You'll notice I never lift from the crown. The plant is always root ball in the palm of my hand. Okay? I lift the plant from the crown, the weight of the roots, I can snap it, and then I'm in a world of hurt. I've lost my plant. Okay? So, same thing. That's going to go in, and I'm just backfilling. I'm taking my displaced soil. I'm going around. Okay, and I'll stop right here since we've done the thrillers. I'll show you what we're looking at. Oh, I planted the showy one backwards. There we go. Okay, so that's how we're looking right now. Okay, so firm it down a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to do my fillers. Keep the tags. Same thing. There's 4 in a pot. Gentle squeeze, okay? That's all I'm doing. I'm just loosening the root balls. Okay? I'm going to put my hand across, brace them, flip it. And you can see I'm not grabbing the roots. I'm grabbing that, and I'm supporting all the weight on the roots in my hands. Again, never lifting from the flower. Stand them up. Okay, there we go.
You have to knock the dirt off the roots, or
No. That is some people ask that. Quickest way to shock and or kill your plant will be to knock the soil off the roots. No plant wants to be bare root, and you can see I do them one plant. These I'm doing 4. I'm planting. I have shade. I'm good to go. If it was scorching hot in full sun, I wouldn't have lifted all 4 out. So, what I'm going to do with mine, just because I want to, is I'm going to do cross color. And what I mean by that is I am going to put pinks and purples, or pink, sorry, on this side, Okay, then I'm going to do my whites. So same thing, squish, squish, very gently, just giving it a squish, squishy, squishy, very gently. Take out the tag, brace my crown, flip it. Like that. Oh wow, look at that root.
Whoa.
That is going to explode. But you start knocking that off, you are going to tear those roots apart. It's yeah. Mistakes I've seen people make, or I've seen them do that. I've also seen people not take them out the pots. And they're like, what? It doesn't grow in the pot? No, it gets root bound in the pot. But again, these are things, if you know, it doesn't bother me when a customer does it. If you don't know, you don't know. It does bother me when I've seen professional landscapers do it, and I have seen that. And I use the term there, professional, very loosely.
But you can plant coconut quarter pots in, right? Or you can those out?
You can, yes, peat moss and coconut clay, you can.
Okay.
Personally, I'll take them out. If there isn't enough moisture and enough water, they may not break down as quick as the root system is growing. Ideally, you're not going to get any better system than root on soil. Exactly how Mother Nature intended it. But of course, yes, I have done that with my peat pots. If they're breaking down, I've put them in. Okay, how are we looking for time? Oh, we're getting there. Okay, so I'm going to do some spillers now, and I can finish the rest off camera if I need to. Bacopa. Okay, so, and one of the reasons why I picked this one was I wanted whites, yellows, and pinks, and all of these have a trace element of that in to be able to work. So Bacopa is a white flower with a yellow center, and then the creepy Jenny is a yellow leaf. It's actually called creeping Jenny, but my wife's name is Jenny, so I like to say creepy Jenny. It just makes me laugh. That's a joke for me. And it's funny because this was a favorite plant of mine even before I knew Jenny. So obviously I've got good taste. So we put that in and I'm firming it down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this completely. It's going to look identical to what you see there. But I'm going to move on so we can do Q&A and we can talk about the other things. So what was my next? Now my hands are dirty. Watering. Okay. So when you have a planter like this, it's in full sun with a ton of different plants growing in it, you might find yourself having to water it. I would say definitely once a day. I would be amazed if it wasn't twice a day. But don't take what I'm saying. Check your planter. Okay, just go out, stick your finger in and be like, yeah, if it comes out like that, you're good. If it comes out dry, get some water in it. We got that one there. This one's going to go here. And the other thing, I've checked my notes, water is needed, even though it has drain holes. You do not want to overwater. Too much moisture builds up and you're going to end up with root rot. The plants are growing in basically in a swamp. The roots can't breathe. There's not a proper gas exchange. So you want to make sure you don't overwater or underwater. Underwatering, it'll wilt. It won't have the power to produce. Underwatering or overwatering, you'll end up getting root rot and whatnot. And one thing, so I'll go back to the deck that we planted last year, Jenny and I. Even though we had 7 planters on the deck, they didn't all have the same requirements. One was ceramic, a couple were plastic, I believe one was wood. They all had different plants in them. It's so much easier planting on the side that's closest to you.
Yeah.
And some of them we were watering 3 times a day. I'm looking at you, tomato. And some of them we were watering once a day. I'm looking at you, begonias, because they were in the deepest shade. So don't assume that, oh, they're all in the same location, they'll be fine. Check each planter as needed. And if you can, water early in the day. At the end of the day, though, I've had people say, they were like, well, I couldn't get out early in the day, so I didn't water. No, water. I would rather you water in full sun and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A plant can survive sunburn like us. Would you rather have a sunburn or complete dehydration? Obviously, we don't want either. One is easier to get better than the other. Dehydrate a plant and it dies, it ain't coming back. And I've seen that happen too many times. So if you can, water it early in the day. If you can't, just get the water. Fertilizer. These are high production plants, and we're growing them to have beauty all season long. So I strongly recommend a fertilizer program. And it can be whatever you want. So I just grabbed a couple. I'm going to use this one today. I like this one because all of those roots, this is going to help them bazinga into the soil. After that, that's only going to be used once. I would swap to an annual fertilizer. I got a shake and feed and I got a water soluble, whichever one suits your lifestyle best. Not everybody has time for water soluble, so they just blast out the shake and feed. Some people don't like shake and feed because it doesn't break down as evenly. Shake and feed is fine. I don't like it because I can't guarantee my fertilizer rates. It breaks down based on heat and moisture. I like water soluble because I know exactly what I'm getting. But if you haven't been able to tell right now, I'm rather picky on certain things. So that's how we do that. Avoid high nitrogen fertilizers. If you have a tree fertilizer, high nitrogen is going to tell the plant it needs to make more leaves. We don't want leaves, we want flowers. So for this, all-purpose will work, absolutely. Not my favorite. For my blooms, I like using a flower fertilizer, I gotta say it. But again, if all you have is an all-purpose, some fertilizer is better than none. Okay, it is essential because I get people going, well, do I have to? No, you don't. Okay, let's be 100% honest, put all the cards on the table. No, you don't have to. Nobody fertilizes plants in the wild, and they do rather okay. However, go and look at a plant in the wild and then go look at a plant in a curated garden. The one in the curated garden looks significantly better because we prune it, we deadhead it, we do fertilize, we do amend the soil. So that's why I recommend it, because it will live, absolutely, but it is not going to live as successfully as if you do a fertilizer program. New blooms takes a lot of energy for the plant to keep blooming the way it does. We supplement the sunlight and whatnot with the fertilizer to help the plant have everything it needs. Oh boy, I am jamming this. This is going to look great in a couple of weeks. Can you add my name to the wheel, Brandy?
Okay.
I would like to. Okay. You're not going to add my name to the wheel, are you? Overall health. You develop a good, strong, healthy plant with fertilizer, it's going to be more forgiving. If you overwater or underwater, the basket, the plant is going to be like, all right, well, I'm able to sustain this. It's not ideal, but I can make it work. So you end up with a healthier plant. And fertilize, oh yeah. I see a lot of people, they get to midsummer and they're kind of like, it should be good. No, keep it going. Again, if you make it robust enough and you've got a hard plant like pansies and even some geraniums, you can push late fall. Once you get a couple of real hard frosts, they're going to check out. But you can absolutely push it, and you're going to have a better chance of pushing it with a robust, healthy plant as opposed to a plant that's weakened. Deadheads, not the hippies. Removal of old flowers. So all that is, do we have one? This one's past best. Okay. And hold that, pop it off. Getting rid of the seed pod. Okay, clean cut. I didn't damage it. I didn't rip it down. There's no stem sticking out looking silly. And that's going to make the plant send up a new. So it's sending up blooms to make seeds so that the plant can propagate, so that it can keep living. We pull that off before it goes to seed. The plant is like, really? And it sends out another flower. So basically, it's a cheat code. We're cheating the plant into constantly sending us. All I'm doing right now is I'm just gently firming everything in before I water, making sure I haven't missed anything, because I have. That's happened to me before. Checking my depths, making sure no leaves are buried. The energy, so the reason for that is now the plant goes, oh, well, I'm not going to spend energy making a seed. I'm going to spend energy putting out a new flower. So that's our cheat code. It allows the blooms to be longer, because once it starts developing seeds, it's like, well, I don't need the other flowers. Why am I putting energy into that? And they start dropping. So you're actually going to keep your flowers more vibrant longer. It's aesthetically pleasing. This looks a lot nicer than a basket with half-dead flowers, and beneficial to the pollinators. And who doesn't want to help our little bee friends? Let's be friends.
Yes.
Oh, you like that pun? But my handle pun, oh no, God forbid. And that wraps us up. How did I do for time? A little bit over. And there we go. So I'm going to water and fertilize this. As we take questions, I'm going to clean up first. But if we have any Q&A, let's hear them.
Yeah, we've got